Welcome to Lighten Up TV, enlightening, inspiring, and empowering humanity. This is a journey of self-discovery. On this journey, we are in search of answers to the burning questions that have intrigued mankind for millennia. Who are we? Where did we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? By merging scientific discoveries with spiritual revelations, we will explore the possibility that mind and matter are one and the same in a vibratory field of pure consciousness. What if this eternally expanding field of consciousness is of and from the same source? These revelations, that we may actually share one mind in a unified field that expands into the cosmos, has the potential to cause a powerful shift in the collective consciousness. On our fascinating journey, we will explore ancient legends, modern discoveries, and emerging truths about the spiraling creative forces that spun this creation into being. From spirituality to religion, superstring theory to the Big Bang, from gods and goddesses to angels and aliens, we will dive into the mysteries of creation. Are you ready to lighten up?
Starring your host, Suzanne Ross, television personality and producer, inspirational author and speaker. She is a 5D truth seeker and spiritual pioneer on the front lines, raising the frequency of humanity. Through her shows, books, and events, she has dedicated her life to activating the matrix for global ascension.
Sci-Spi TV proudly presents living legend Erich von Daniken. He is the author of over 20 books exploring the concept which he founded called Ancient Astronaut Theory. It is truly my pleasure to introduce Erich von Daniken. Hello and welcome to Lighten Up TV. I'm your host Suzanne Ross, and I am here with the living legend Erich von Daniken, best-selling author of over 40 books, has sold over 75 million copies worldwide, started writing in the 60s, really, and your main goal has been to bring the story to life of ancient Sumer.
Well, it all started with Chariots of the Gods.
Yes, it certainly
in 1968. And Chariots of the Gods was my first book. And there I asked the question, have we been visited from outer space? Have our ancestors some thousands of years ago had visits from outer space? That was the beginning of everything.
Yes, I love your book, Chariots of the Gods, and I've read it and listened to it multiple times. And so you sort of picked up on what the cuneiform text, the story that they were being told, and translated that into the Chariots of the Gods, correct?
Yes and no. I mean, there are not only cuneiform texts. Cuneiform are from Old Sumerian, but we have texts from Old India, we have texts from old religious sources, like including the Bible, etc. And in many of these texts, they speak about visitors from outer space. Now, let me clear.
Okay.
I'm a believer in God. I am a figure who still pray every evening. But I was educated as a Catholic in Switzerland. I was for 6 years in a boarding school led by Jesuits, and there we had to make translations already from one language, Latin, to the next language, Greek, of these old texts. Now, as a young man, a deep believer in God, I had some ideas, what is God? At least this figure, or whatever, the spirit God, must have had some minimum qualities. For example, God makes no mistakes. Or God would never need a vehicle in which to move around from point A to point B because God is all over. Or God is out of time. God does not need to make an experiment, but then he has to wait what the result is. He knows it before. So that was my idea as a boy. Then I read the Bible, we translated the Bible, and I realized in the Bible we have a God who descends on the holy mountain with smoke, fire, trembling, loud noise. The mountain was glowing like a furnace, etc. So all of a sudden I had doubts in my own education. What are they talking about? My God doesn't need a vehicle which descends with smoke and fire and trembling and loud noise. Or you read the book of Ezekiel in the Bible. Ezekiel describes how a chariot comes down from the sky. He describes the wheel, he describes the wings, he describes the legs. So all this is technology. I simply had doubts in my own Catholic education, and I wanted to find out if other communities in antiquity have similar stories than we have, we Christians. That was the beginning of cuneiform and all the other stuff later. So.
Yes. And then in the India Mahabharata, the Vimanas. So how did you come into the Mahabharata, and what was your translation of that?
After Chariots of the Gods, I had a lot of contacts worldwide. I had speeches at some universities in Madras, in India, and there I came together with Professor Dr. Kanjilal, who was a brilliant Sanskrit expert. And he taught me, he told me about the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata we have many books, and the 5th book is called Mausala Purva. Well, in the German expression they say Mausala Purva. And there they clearly describe cities on the firmament. They make a difference between firmament and heaven. Heaven is a place of happiness after death. Firmament is the place over us. And they see 3 cities surrounding the planet. They describe the 3 cities in different colors. And all of a sudden, from one of these cities, smaller vehicles have come down, and these smaller vehicles are called Vimanas. Now, one of the young men were taken up with the Vimana up to the big city. We know his name is Arjuna. He even learned the language of these extraterrestrials. And once he was back on Earth, he described what he saw. And that's what we read in this 5th book, in the Mausala Purva. So we had definitely visitors from outer space. And this is handed down in many religious texts, not only in India, not only in the Bible. For example, the Ethiopian community has the oldest book, which is the Book of the Kings. It's called the Kebrat Negest. And there you read that King Solomon, we know all King Solomon, he had a flying machine, which he received from his God because of his violence. It is even described how he uses his flying machine. He was in love with the Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba is in today's Ethiopia. That's a few thousand kilometers away from Jerusalem. So King Solomon visited her, a beloved girl, with the flying machine. So all this is handed down in the books, and that's my specialty.
Yes, and the flying carpets then.
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. Gilgamesh. So can you expand on who was Gilgamesh in this tale of Gilgamesh?
Gilgamesh is a Sumerian tale. It starts from Sumeria. Later the Babylonians took it over too. Gilgamesh was obviously a king of the city of Uruk, according to the Gilgamesh epic. It was found in cuneiform tablets in a large library of the king of Assurbanipal II in Uruk, which was an old city. And there we read in the Gilgamesh story that Gilgamesh was taken up into the sky again. He was flying over the earth, and the being who brings him up always say to Gilgamesh, "Human, look down to earth. What do you see?" And as higher they come, Gilgamesh describes how the earth looks. Then finally they are very high, and he says, and the earth looked like a bull, and the gigantic ocean just like a little sea. So he is over the planet. He describes what happened. Gilgamesh also is looking for the tree of life. He wants to be immortal, but he doesn't find it. Finally he dies.
And so, of course, I want to talk about Nibiru and who these beings were that came from that 12th planet as described in the cuneiform texts. So who were these and why did they come?
We have no idea where they come from, but we know for sure they come from another solar system, not from our planet, not for example from Atlantis, not for example time traveler, because in the past we had discussions, humans were discussing with them. They asked them, where do you come from? And they always pointed to the sky, to the heaven. They said, we come from that, and they used the name. But the name means nothing to us. It's not our solar system. None of them said, we are coming from Atlantis, or we are coming from Lemuria, or we are time travelers, we come from your own planet. They always came from somewhere. Now from where? Which home planet? Which solar system? With what technology? How far away? We have no idea. But we simply know they were here, and before they left the planet Earth again, they promised to return in a far future. And this promise of the returning of the God has become part of every ancient culture. You know, some roughly 400 years ago, Columbus visited as the first, so he came to Central America. The natives believed that Columbus was the long-awaited God. Or Francisco Pizarro. Pizarro was the Spanish conqueror who came first to Peru. The natives in Peru, the Inca, they fell down on their knees and they believed he was the long-awaited God. Of course, Pizarro was not the God, but the natives believed it. The same thing in Central America. Hernando Cortes, another Spanish conqueror, came to Moctezuma. Moctezuma was the ruler of the Aztecs here in Central America. Even the ruler believed that Hernando Cortes is the long-awaited God who finally returns. Or far away in the South Sea, we have the British James Cook, Captain James Cook. He was the first who visited Hawaii. The natives fell down on their knees. They believed, finally, the long-awaited God has returned. So this idea of somebody is returning is not a Christian invention. This existed long before Christianity. And what do we have today? I'm educated as a Catholic. We Christians, we believe that Jesus will return. But the Muslim society believes that the Mahdi will return. Every Buddhist believes that Buddha will return. As we know, the Jewish community, since more than 5,000 years, they are convinced that their Messiah will return. So every big living religion today still has this expectation of return of someone. Now, obviously, not every religion can be right. I'm afraid they are all wrong.
Okay.
There is neither Jesus, nor Mahdi, nor Messiah coming, simply extraterrestrials. And I suggest they are here already. We are under observation again.
And so these extraterrestrials have returned. You think they're walking among us? Do you think they're going to make an elaborate return that is a public display of?
At the moment, since 2 or 3 decades, we are under observation. They know exactly how we react because the gods created humans according to their own image. They know our feelings, they know our way of thinking, so they don't want to shock us. They would have the technology to show up of a sudden before a big football stadium with 10,000 of people and all the TV cameras are there. They know exactly mankind, humanity would be completely shocked. So they make it slowly. They use 1 or 2 generations to prepare us. Once for themselves, they have to study our languages. What language are we speaking? What science do we have? What kind of weapons do we have? Could we be dangerous for them? What political systems do we have? What religious systems do we have? What kind of bacteria we have? You cannot just shake hands with somebody and then you are dead because they have different viruses. So they observe us. It's a scientific study for them, but also for us. In respect of us, they don't want to shock us. That's why they prepare us slowly, slowly. This will take 1 or 2 generations, and we are in the middle of it. The time has changed. In German we say, der Zeitgeist, the spirit of time has changed.
I love that spirit of time,
Yeah.
yes. And so what reason would the extraterrestrials have to want to come and land on our planet and interact with us?
That's very complicated to explain it. I think I know it. I'm not sure, of course, but I think I know it. The goal of the universe is to spread out intelligence all over the universe. Imagine we would have in the universe that we have billions and billions of stars. We would have one form of intelligent life on one planet somewhere out there. Now this lonely being, intelligent, has no contact with nobody, has no information to change, cannot ask somebody, is the universe at the end of your place? How does it go? So you need intelligence all over the universe. You have to spread out intelligence to construct a net of communication. That's what they're doing. They are spreading out intelligence all over the universe. We are part of it.
So it's a network of intelligence and a way to connect all of these different forms of intelligence
And
throughout the galaxy,
yeah,
universe.
you know, I just remember some 40 years ago I was on a TV show here in the United States, and left to me was Professor Dr. Carl Sagan sitting. He was a brilliant astronomer and astrophysics, and on the other side was Alan Hynek. He also was an astronomer. Now Hynek thought it is possible that UFOs do exist, while Sagan said, no, this is all nonsense. UFOs do not exist. And then Sagan said to Hynek, and I was sitting in the middle of it, but listen, Carl, if we would be under observation, if there would be something intelligent out there, they would have realized that we are intelligent too. Since long time, they would have taken diplomatic connections with us. And then Hynek says, dear Carl, we don't make diplomatic connections with chickens. That's the situation.
So up to the recent times, what do you make of this hollowed out, cylinder-shaped asteroid that some are predicting is some kind of spacecraft with beings inside, and they have come into our atmosphere?
What asteroid?
This has been captured on film by NASA, and it is an ice-covered, long cylinder-shaped asteroid that has come into our atmosphere, and many believe it is a hollowed out asteroid that is now being used as some sort of space
Yes,
craft.
but this so-called asteroid has left again. He passed our solar system and our Earth in a distance of about 34 million kilometers, and in the meantime has left our solar system again.
Okay.
But we have other problems here in our solar system. You know, between Mars and Jupiter there is what we call the asteroid belt. These are about 800,000 stones, small ones like footballs, or very big ones. The biggest of the asteroid is called Ceres. Ceres has a diameter of about 750 kilometers. It's quite a little moon, quite an object. And your people, NASA, for the United States, has sent a space probe to Ceres, to this asteroid. That was on the way for many years, and now we received wonderful pictures from the surface of Ceres. And there are things which are not normal. On Ceres, for example, there is a mountain just isolated. There's no other mountain, and the mountain has some scratches, white scratches. We don't know what it is, as if somebody would have scratched the mountain up to take some raw material. We don't understand it. And then we have a clear picture of Ceres where there is a rectangular made out of stone. Now Ceres is a dead planet. There is no atmosphere. There is nothing. We humans were never now alive on Ceres. But there you find artificial stuff like a rectangular in stone. So if we were not there, somebody else must have been there. The question is who and when, why, etc. So we have problems in our solar system.
Yes.